Hey everybody, Flaming Shark here, back with another video. Wait. No, wrong persona, wrong channel. Alright, right. Alright. Reset. Head into the darkness, I can see you guiding me. It feels wrong too, doesn't it? All right, let's just focus here, right? Let's focus. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna be doing this. All right, let's go. What's going on, everyone? My name is Terminus, and today we are going to be reacting to Made in Abyss, the first episode of the second season. I'm so fucking excited. We went through the darkness of the Dawn of the Deep Soul movie, and now we are here. We arrived at the second season. It's already the second season. I'm sad, but I'm also happy that we go deeper and we're in uncharted territory now. But more about that in a little bit. I'm actually a little bit of an update for you guys. I'm actually recording this before I'm recording the big season 1/movie recap, which I do want to do after Dawn of the Deep Soul. Yeah, I still need a little bit time to process everything, but I'm so excited about just keeping up with watching this series that I decided I'm gonna just dive into the first episode at least of this one and see what expects us. Obviously, that will be taken into account when I'm releasing my season 1 recap. We're gonna be a little bit like, okay, I've thought this, but in the first episode this and that happened, which I maybe expect, maybe didn't. It will be an interesting thing to look into, but either way, we're gonna do it this way around. And then we're gonna recap the entire first season. Not recap. I don't want to talk too long about it. I just want to go a little bit deeper into what do I think about Rico, what do I think about Reg, where are we in the story, what is Nanachi gonna add to the story. We've already seen the movie, so we see a little bit of what's right, her personal things is already in there and whatnot. Recap a little bit the people we've met, Ozen, Bondred, whatever, and then just talk about it, right? Talk about it. Maybe I find some interesting psychological concepts. It's not always easy because obviously you do have very dynamic characters that have all kinds of aspects about themselves. So I would have to cherry pick specific elements of that. And we talked about some of these elements already, right? Anxiety and heart, a little bit of a tendency to avoid decision making or to be very hesitant in decision making on Reg's side, and on the side of Rico we do have the high intelligence, but also the naivete and the optimism, which is amazing for the morale of the entire crew. But also on the other side, the rose-colored glasses, right? Everything that has to do with the Abyss is amazing, even if it's just maybe bland or if it's a negative thing. Obviously she does have her conscience, but we do see that, and I will talk about that later, we do see that in the movie as well, that we are in a way closer to Bondred as we would, like we as the viewers might like, because Rico, in a way, if we look back at when Rico met Reg and what she was doing with him to find out his capabilities was somewhat inhumane. I mean, obviously she wasn't cutting limbs off, but she was trying to cut him. She was trying to stick things into him and burn him, right? And that's a thing that's pretty severe, but it seems to be somewhat of the norm that these things, if what you're dealing with is not a human, right? And this is what Bondred tells himself in his head. He's like, okay, I'm not treating them as humans, right? They wouldn't have a great life anyway. They would die very early. Right? Nobody's gonna miss them. So I'm gonna give them a nice time, and until I don't, until until they die horribly, but at least then it will be a short period of time, or maybe then they won't be, right, saying human things anymore, and then it's good. Obviously that's an easy way to kind of push the responsibility onto someone else, and I do think Bondred on in his own way is not very or all that much human to begin with. His ability to put away his conscience, if he has one. I think he has somewhat of a conscience, but it's far back in the past, right? Way before he sacrificed his own flesh to get a white whistle, and before he started cloning himself. So you do have this aspect, this very interesting aspect as well, that if you keep cloning yourself, if you keep making copies of yourself, is it still the real you, or is there something that's missing in that copy of yours? And maybe what you've originally sacrificed in order to gain more knowledge, in order to gain more access to the abyss, was in the end the humanity you should have kept, right? Or you would have liked to keep, making the ultimate sacrifice, sacrificing what makes you you and what makes you human, and then nothing remains but these aspects of yourself that you had before, right? That they're also inherently human, but there are other aspects, right? This never-ending curiosity, the obsession with the abyss, the tendency to experiment, right? But yeah, it's a very interesting thing to talk about, and I'm sure we're gonna get way more into it as well on the long-form discussion about all of that. Last time, what happened last time? We already talked about it. Bondred showed up, and we had Prushka in the movie. I don't want to recap too long. I spent an entire hour going through the movie after we've seen the movie, so I think that's more than enough. And I do think that with the season 1 recap, season 1 plus movie recap, we're gonna also go a little bit more into it. So we're gonna keep it a little bit condensed and solid here. We have passed the 5th layer, which is the Sea of Corpses, by the way. I do read your comments, okay? But sometimes it takes me a while. First of all, it takes me a while to read the comments, because sometimes I'm a couple of weeks ahead. Not only because of the early access, but also afterwards, after the early access, there is also I want to I want to record stuff ahead, because sometimes I do have very important things to do, as in January, February there's exam phase, and I want to make that transition as smoothly as possible for you, so you still have your 1 week early access for Made in Abyss for the most part, and you still have your your general content that's coming in. Yeah, but I do read your comments, and after a while I'll notice and realize if I'm pronouncing things wrong. I'm also very thankful if you point these things out. I made that big mistake with the Sea of the Undead. I want to note though that cognitively, right, on a cognitive level, I actually didn't think about undead as in rising dead or whatever, right? As in necromancy, I did think more about the realm of the dead, basically, in the sense of people are dead, there's a lot of pain and suffering, corpses, whatever. Obviously I didn't define that distinctly enough, because in my head it didn't take that much of a shape. There was not that much content that I could relate to the name of the layer necessarily. But now looking back on it, obviously it does make sense that an area where all these rituals were conducted, where lives were sacrificed, it would possibly be called the Sea of Corpses, because what do you do with the corpses after you've extracted whatever you need to extract? In this case, the the white whistle that produces that certain timbre, that certain sound that activates the thing that you need, like the capsule that you need to dive down into the other layers. It's human lives or living beings. I think especially humans, and that is a very gruesome concept. But yeah, what do you do with the corpses after that? You throw them into the sea, and then it's a sea of corpses. But even without that, you have all these cave raiders wanting to come down here and maybe ending their journey here, and either right, despairing at the fact that they can't go on, or trying to make it back up but not being able to take the strain, and as a result just drown in the sea, or die some other gruesome death, and then they get washed up into the sea and swallowed by this giant, enormous, supernatural, weird ocean. But yeah, now we're in unexplored, uncharted territory almost. We do know that it's called the capital of the unreturned, which has a very clear implication, of course, that many of you have been saying this to me on various reactions. I've been saying, hey Terminus, look, you're talking as if they can just go back up there, and that's not the case. They're after you pass this 5th layer and you go down into the 6th layer, the last kind of explored, or the last layer where we do have some information from the white whistles that went down there, none of them have come back, right? None of them managed to get back up. So it is really, you can't get back up. But my take on this is you can't get back up as far as we know, right? And we do have that hero's journey here with Rico and Reg and Nanachi, very unique beings, every one of them, right? Unique circumstances in which they were born or built or modified or made, or unique life stories. And you have Liza down there, right? And even if all of us, right? Rico, Reg, Liza, Nanachi, all of us were more or less expecting not to come back when we take that dive. It doesn't mean that there's not a way to go back up. Now, obviously, I do know when, for example, we're talking about Marulk in episode 6, 7, whatever, when we say, I think it's 7 or 8, when we say goodbye to Marulk, where I say, oh, don't cry, they're gonna be back and you meet again. That is my hope, right? That is my hopium going into that, being like, they're gonna be back, right? That is my way to emotionally deal with it, because I'm just an optimist in this regard. But obviously Marulk wouldn't think of that. For Marulk, that is a goodbye, a final goodbye, and I understand that, of course, that emotionally and cognitively this is a decision that you make, the plunge that you take. The moment you take it, you know you're probably 99% not gonna come back. And obviously we as viewers or readers, we do know a little bit more, because we know about the meta systems, right? Narrative structures, and we do know that technically Rico could be on a hero's journey, and a big part of the hero's journey is going into a deep abyss from which none have ever come back, or very rarely people have come back. And to master that and overcome it and be transformed, right? Maybe not be the same person, but have your rebirth in a way, and come back as a different being, or as a different person, transformed not only on an emotional and character level, but also maybe on a physical level even. And I do believe that since this is a very distinct structure, it is very possible that we do come back. And we even have the dream of Rico in episode 9, when she's in the Great Falls and experiences the hallucinations, that she's like, all right, we're gonna go back up. Obviously it's like, oh no, the curse doesn't work anymore, it's fine, and she's with her mother, and it's kind of surreal and whatnot. But these are dreams that she has deep down. She wants to come back, she wants to be celebrated as this great explorer, have that fame, and not fame as in have the attention necessarily, but have her name passed down in history, and her being like her mother. But her mother didn't come back yet, so that's the thing, right? And that is something to keep in mind, of course, and I understand that. But yeah, I think that is about all. One very interesting thing, I think, is that Bondress is technically still alive. Maybe you guys can correct me on that, but I think he's still alive. As of now, I haven't read comments on the latest episodes, on the movie especially, so I don't know if he's still alive. It looked like he was still alive, but he has a limited number of copies of himself, so that is the kind of the thing he's in. He's mortal at this point, but he has a lot of them, and they're impossible to destroy at the same time, so he can still kind of more or less do his thing. But I do wonder if his approach at life and experiments and all of that in general will somewhat change, because for him, first of all, he said now that his reason now for existing, his reason for what he wants is them to go on their journey and them to have many curses and blessings and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, maybe gain that knowledge, because we know people can come back, but word can spread from down below. And I do wonder, though, if that changes his perspective, the fact that now his life, the number of lives he has, is limited. Not probably in terms of how gruesome he is with people, because he still sees them as tools, as objects of his experimentation, but maybe it changes his approach, how he views himself, and as a process of that, maybe he views other people differently as well down the line. But we don't know right now, because we're not meeting them again, seemingly. I mean, at least for now, and probably for a long time. I don't think we're gonna go back up within the time of the anime, if we even go back up. And there's a lot more to explore, and what I'm so excited about is that we're now in almost uncharted territory. We're at the point that we are literally looking towards something that we know the general structure of, right? We have some pictures and maps, and we know how it's called by the people up above, but we don't know anything else aside from time moves differently potentially down there. And possibly Liza is waiting for us right down there, right? I mean, probably ways down there, because she's an explorer, she's very capable, and right, and it draws her even further in, and that's just how it is. But it's gonna be very interesting if we actually meet Liza somewhere within that second season, or after that second season in the manga, and we have a time where we actually share that with one another, right? Where we're exploring together as mother and daughter, because for all we know, Liza actually wanted that, right? She was like, okay, she's gonna be drawn to the abyss anyway, she's gonna be wanting to go down there, and she's probably also gonna be wanting to follow me. So maybe in her ideal fantasy, Riko's gonna come down there, and she's gonna manage to do it, and then they can be together as mother and daughter down there, exploring and doing what they deeply desire, both of them in their hearts. But yeah, more mysteries to solve, more questions to answer, hopefully, and more people to meet. There's a bunch of white whistles down there, right? We have the mysterious guy, we have Liza, and I think we had one more, right? The guidance, right? The guidance or wisdom or whatever guy. So it's gonna be very interesting to maybe encounter these white whistles and see how they are in comparison to Bondred, because Bondred obviously in comparison to Ozen was a lot more ruthless and a lot less empathetic, of course, a lot more robotic and like a construct or a machine, void of that empathy. Ozen had that empathy, and we talked about Ozen here and there, but I think one of the things that one of the comments said just a couple of weeks ago was that Ozen bearing that burden is all that is left to her, and all she has seen is her pupils and the people she advised and whatnot. She gave guidance going down there and never coming back, and that must be really painful, especially with Liza, that we do believe that even if there was nothing romantic, at the very least she loved her probably like a daughter. So and had a lot of warm feelings for her, despite her outward personality that she always had. But her carrying this duty and this responsibility constantly, and just for everybody who passes by, and she sees them all going down there never to return, that must be really hard on her. I can absolutely understand that. But yeah, I think that's it for the discussion portion, like the pre-discussion portion. We're gonna watch the first episode, and then I'm probably gonna set 1 or 2 weeks out and will not be watching any more episodes, at least not before I'm gonna do the discussion for season 1. And then I do have a couple of other projects that I'm juggling. I do have the 100 subscriber special movie and the possible 3rd series, although that's way back still, so relax. And Frieren, of course, every week. It's Frieren is actually a little bit more trouble than most of the other series, but anyway. If you do like my content, if you like my discussions, please leave me a like and comment down in the comment section. Give me your opinion, your honest opinions. Now, obviously, if I read something like this dude, he doesn't pay attention. He's so stupid. I mean, it's gonna hurt me a little bit, okay, right? But it's okay. I am like genuine criticism I do take, and it's okay if you say that, or you missed this, you missed that, or how did you confuse that? Obviously, you can always pay attention if you listen to something in a foreign language while reading subtitles of a foreign language. Although I'm pretty fluent in English, but yeah. I do really appreciate every comment, and I would also like for you to join the Discord channel, which is in the description down below or on my channel main page. You can find it in the link section, right? In the About Me link section, right below my Patreon. There should be a more permanent link there. I do hope you join us on the Discord. It would be great to have more people in here and just talk more dynamically to people. I do have Discord on my phone, so I can also sometimes, just when I'm at work or I'm in a lecture or whatever, or before or after a lecture, just look into my Discord and be like, okay, cool. Right, discuss some things back and forth. Obviously no spoilers, please, but you can also discuss spoilers if you want to, if you put them into spoiler tags. Like, it's my channel, my Discord channel is not a Discord server, is not a spoiler-free territory altogether. You just have to tag it appropriately and then talk to people about, like, oh, I can't wait till it gets to this point, or I wonder what he's gonna say to that. That is the kind of stuff I do as well, on a regular basis on channels that I really like. But yeah, without further ado, please subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss any videos. I do also have a Patreon. I mentioned it a couple of times, but I'm gonna say that at the end of the video. So if you want to have more info on that, look in the description or wait for the end of the video, where I generally plug the Patreon as well. See you then. But now let's get into the reaction. Alright, Made in Abyss. Episode 1 of season 2 is gonna start here in a 3, a 2, a 1. Bam. Oh, it's a star compass, right? Or is it something different? New character? Straight. Wait. The compass straight up? It doesn't. Oh. Alright, we're going into... Insane, probably. Well, not insane, but you know. Oh, so this is outside of the abyss and the seafaring stories, right? Okay, now I get it. El Dorado. A golden city, okay. Oh, we're starting this great. For the one purpose. A longing, and we have the longing again. Oh, that is trauma. And seasickness in this case. We're sailing the seas. So he seems to be at least somewhat nice. 3 sages of ganja. It's interesting, they didn't take the compass from her. He talks very interesting. It's very nonchalant, very informal, I'd say.
体感している心理を言葉にする方法を彼も我々も持ち合わせていない。ただの思い込みだと高をくくっていたが、本物だ。神がかりと言って。
Touched by the divine.
黄金鏡が存在しなくても見つけ出してしまうだろう。
So he can see into the future. Foresight. Yeah, there's a lot of self-doubt here. I mean, that's a great gift too, right? Taking care of others. He means something completely different, but yeah. The true beauty in those emotions. The light shines brightest in the darkness. And she's a caretaker, right? She takes care of other people. He is a philosopher. And it's gonna be a rough journey. And then they make land. The island will appear like something mystical behind the waves. Oh, new song. The golden city of the scorching sun. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps. And everybody. Well, not everybody, but... Pioneers. Right? Adventure cause. And, secrets. Gravity. I mean, that's what I understand. Maybe I misunderstand, but... And no earth. Wow. The compass pointed to the darkness. I do wonder if we're gonna follow these people here. It's gonna take me a while to remember the names, but I do wonder if this is the entire episode. Natives, okay. He's excited about everything. So there have been settlements, there have been people before. Humans, even. The compass. Oh, he's very good at languages if he figured that out so quickly. Alright, a trade. The light that no one else has found. Oh, who do we have here? This is very different. 𝐸𝐬𝐪. Oh, the capital of the unreturned. Oh, that is harsh. The question is, how do they even know that with their level of technology? That is more concerning. I like him, that he's very welcoming and just takes things as he goes, right? For him it's just like everything is an opportunity. That's what it feels to me like. And we do already have some giant monsters. But you know, the fact that neither of them have come up so far might disprove my hope. And we experience the curse. Curse. That's all he wants to. Outcasts. And they started the faith, I guess. Otherworldly scenery. But how did they manage to go into the vessel without the white whistle? I mean, we don't know if they don't have a white whistle, but... And we're back. We're back with Rico and Reg. Okay. And Nanachi, of course. What is happening, Nanachi? And they're not diving. Oh, no, they're diving. They're diving. They're going down into the whirlpool, which... I didn't quite pay attention to that, but we said that in the movie. I don't know. Yeah, something with cycles. I haven't talked about that actually. I think I'll have to note that down. That's the right mindset. Just enjoy the adventure. And that's how he can explore the right? Explore below without actually having to go down below. What the hell is going on, Rick? And it reverberated and activated the whole thing. What are they gonna see? Holy shit, those are giant fish. And rock or plant formations. Oh, okay. In a way, actually, this is a journey to heaven, right? Technically. I mean, for people who believe in the Abyss faith. The only difference is that heaven is conventionally up and the Abyss is down. Alright, you got the bottle? Alright. I mean, bodily functions, right? Oh, I love how she's memeing on Bondrod already. And a golden sheen, not a deep dark pit. I mean, we had the deep dark pit already, right? But wow. And it actually looks kind of heavenly. That is a very interesting artistic representation of a place. And they had a whistle. And it might have been the native. Because I didn't see her in the crowd, so... Never able to return. Whoa, this space looks insane. And that's it already. And that is what we're to expect, right? That is what we are to expect. When the song ceases, fate will reach its end. Feeling of certainty. Hot enough to tarnish gold. The silhouette of my longing seems to only get farther away. The thing I'm longing for is always deeper. Holding hands again, that's straight pain for pain. Fallen petals as sustenance. The awakening, okay. Let our sound ring out forever. Interestingly enough, mirrors that Underground River song from the first season. I don't think I have subtitles for the next... Oh, no, I do have. Capital of the Unreturned. So we had the Golden City of the Scorching Sun. And now we have the Capital of the Unreturned, which is where we almost are, I guess. I do wonder what lies beyond it, or how the Capital of the Unreturned looks. It reminds me a lot of Dark Souls and similar series where you have these otherworldly places where the laws of physics don't quite apply, and where time works differently, right? These ethereal places that are objects of worship in their respective created worlds. It's very interesting and very cool to look at. There's so many amazing shots in this entire anime, I'm just glad I can watch it and can watch it with you and share my emotions going through it, but also kind of peek a little bit into it. Obviously, this was a teaser, so there's not that much material yet for what we are to expect down below, but we already have set up some new characters, some new interesting characters that could, for all intents and purposes, still be alive. We do have some points brought up from the movie that we haven't talked about yet, right? That the cycle in the 2000 years, I kind of brushed over that in my movie reaction. We're definitely gonna maybe think and talk about that a little bit, but yeah. I hope I see you guys back on YouTube for the discussion. Other than that, amazing episode, amazing start into the new season. Let's get to it. Let's fucking get to it. All right. We start out with the star compass. I mean, I knew it was gonna come back, but very interesting how it comes back with somebody else, right? Not to us, but the story from the perspective of somebody else, which we had occasionally here and there, and we do have the narration by Liza, and we do have the we do have Ozen's little moments and whatnot, but we have them very rarely, and I find it very interesting that we go over to showing a whole different perspective, but it's a great way to ease us into this new world that we're gonna approach. We do have the star compass, which made its way into the hands of, I don't even know how she's called, to be honest. Maybe I missed it somewhere. I know how her companions are called, but I don't know how she is called. Our red-headed protagonist here, protagonist. And we're immediately going into very, let me just go back for a second, because that's a creepy shot. Because I don't know how YouTube's gonna handle that, but we're going into a very difficult topic, which is assault, right? Assault, torture, violence, right? And this is a very heavy topic to begin with, but obviously I'm glad that there are stories that do at least contain it, because it is a reality of our world, and we do have to at least keep in mind that things like these are happening, right? So we do have a new character, and she was the victim of sexual assault as a child. Had somebody not really take care of her, but keep her, right? And I don't know how she got out of that, but I'm glad she did. But going forward, we do see how these experiences did define her as a character and still follow and haunt her on her journey that she's taking us with here. And that is that this whole thing came originally from the star compass, and how she went on that journey came from the fact that her abuser was talking about this story about this guy who had that star compass and pointed out that there's a place, a deep dark pit somewhere, where it points straight up the compass, and down in that pit there's the golden city, right? We do have that in our history as well. Legends like that, the golden city of El Dorado and other things, where adventurers and pioneers and explorers went out and tried to find these things. Sometimes they completely annihilated and killed the native population in the process, which is very, very sad and tragic. But we do have these tales of adventure that happen in our own world, and something like this seems to be the case here as well, that this person was within the abyss. I mean, he knows about the city, so I would assume that either he has visions like we see later with Leader, or he at least has some experience with the abyss and some knowledge about it, and he came out insane, right? And they did find a lot of people whose organs were strewn out and whatnot, which implicates that these people went from a layer like the 5th layer and went back up and weren't able to bear the strain, which this guy was fascinated with and kept telling the story over and over. Interestingly enough, for a character here, I'm so sorry that I don't have the name. It's like maybe I'm stupid, but I didn't find it here. But she does seem to have a lot of curiosity towards that story and towards that compass. We don't know if that compass was something that she took over and stole when she ran away from him, or if she maybe managed to kill him in some way, or if he died somewhere else and never came back and she was able to escape through that. But that compass was her ticket into something that she was personally did want to be a part of, which is exploring that thing, which is very interesting because she rejects him telling her the story in a way. It's like, I'm not like you with that boastful story you clung to. She doesn't want to be like that, but maybe that's the reason why she wants to go on this journey, to actually find it, right? Not boast with a weird story that you encountered, but rather take a step into the unknown yourself. Either way, she's dealing with that trauma, and that trauma significantly influenced where she is in life at the moment when we actually meet her in the story, the moment when she's telling or writing down the story. One thing that's very interesting with her here, I'm gonna let it play out a little bit here, but we do see there is the longing, right? The theme of the longing again. This theme that stretches throughout the first season, the very first episode of the first season of Made in Abyss, all the way down here to the 2nd season. And he says, maybe even worthless, right. He says here that, they say the Golden City turns even Chunk into gold, comparing her to Chunk, right? And saying even used up girl like Lou, or worthless hunk of meat like that. And that is a very common occurrence, right? In abusers, that they hold their victims down and influence them on a mental level to make them feel small and insignificant and weak and useless, in order to create that dependency, right? And that status of superiority over their victims, so they don't run away, so they don't try to hurt them, so they don't defy them, right? They remain obedient and do what they're told, and that can leave a lot of extreme mental scars down the line. That is trauma, right? Beyond the torture, beyond the physical abuse, there's also the mental abuse that's coming with that, and that you, especially if you're young, when you're experiencing that, you grow up thinking you're worthless, you grow up thinking you're ugly, you don't amount to much, you don't have any abilities, you can't do anything on your own, and that will follow you for a big part of your life. And there's a lot of therapy and also mental mental self-reflection and positive experiences necessary to actually help people manage these feelings of inadequacy and these negative thoughts that come out of that. There's a lot of other actual disorders that can come out of that too, right? It's extreme stress, mental and physical trauma. Acutely, it can be all the way up to multiple personality disorder, which has been seen. It's not that often, but it's often enough that we can observe it, and we have observed it. And depression, anxiety, big anxiety attacks, self-harm, right? All the way to suicidal thoughts. A lot of that has to be worked out through the course of your life. And now obviously the body and the mind, we do look for things that we can, right, that we can compensate these things with. First of all, we do develop functional strategies of thinking, of acting, that make it easier for us to get by in these traumatic situations and avoid being hurt in the future, but also the fact that yeah, I lost my train of thought a little bit, but yeah, also yeah, the fact that the way we think and the goals we set for ourselves in life and the things we want to achieve might be influenced by these things, either by us trying to overcome these things in some matter or compensate for the things we experienced, the pain we experienced, and the doubts we have. There's a lot that can come out of that, and obviously you can't say you can't just immediately predict how a character is gonna turn out, and even making your way back and kind of reconstructing how a person arrived at that state of being that they are the moment you meet them, and when they tell you about themselves and whatnot. Even that is a very hard task that is very inaccurate. You have to just get as close as you can to the things that probably happened on the inside, because obviously the victims, the people, they can tell you if they open up to you over time. They can tell you what happened and right, and more stuff can come to the surface. But at the same time, being able to establish that causality, well, first of all, you can't establish it definitively. It's more a theory, right? You have a general theory about how this came about, but you don't have all the components. You never have all the components, and you have to work with whatever you got to find out the best way to deal with this in the future, and help those people to I don't want to say get over. It's a bad way to say it. I don't have a better way to express it here in English, but to manage to process all of this and live somewhat comfortable and somewhat confident life going forward. But yeah, in these times, there's no therapist, there's no whatever, but meeting the right people can also be a very important thing. And we do see that the new crew that she meets here is a very, at least on the surface for now, a very positive kind of crew. Very eccentric here with our leader, Vasu. How is that pronounced? Let me just Vasakian. Vasukian. Yeah, Vasukian. He is a little bit eccentric, eating these bugs and being like, all right, it's gonna stop me from disease. But he's a very positive force. Apparently, he is able to always kind of have a positive outlook on everything that happens to them. We see that in this episode. Something bad happens to someone, and well, he didn't die, to be fair, and he was like, okay, that's part of the adventuring life. Let's see, we needed a guide after all. We're doing good, and he has that ability to tell everybody that you shouldn't think so negatively about these things. Try to keep the positive attitude. And he brings that across, even though he's a little bit strange and weird and whatnot. He's like, oh, and great for you, gotten used to it at this point. I mean, it's not much of a... I mean, I feel like some of his attempts to brighten the people up, especially our character here, is kind of misses the mark, right? But you see he's trying, and you see he's always trying to keep an open mind here, and we do find out why he's on this journey, why he's the leader, because he has visions or foresight or feelings, and that feeling told him that this is the way to go. Maybe the abyss is calling for him. Maybe he has a special connection to the abyss for some reason or another, and he gathered this group of outcasts that are all have been shunned by their home countries or have been living miserable lives, and they all believe in the same thing, and he brings them under his banner, which is what leadership is, right? You inspire people to follow you. And yeah, our character here got into this through the star compass, because she had it in her possession. I want to see if he actually talks to her. Over and over, right? The repeating patterns. I can see that. You're gonna get absolutely mad if you travel that many. But yeah, he doesn't talk to her, like he doesn't give her a name. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just missing all of it, but I guess maybe this is just left up to intrigue of, especially, well, she is one of the 3 sages now in their group, right? Your guidepost on this journey, and he tries to build her up again. We're almost there, we're gonna make it. Like, for real! Right? This is kind of the parts where, like, he talks very interesting, and maybe his encouragement sometimes miss the mark. But we do have Belaf here, who is the second, I think the second part of our sages, right? He has a burnt face, very interesting. What's the story behind that? But he also has a very interesting take on beauty. First of all, he does say that leader follows them because they all believe in him. His visions are more than just can be put into words at this point for everyone, right? And that proves his leadership ability. And he himself seems to be kind of a philosopher. One thing I found very interesting, this sentence, that he will find the Golden City even supposing it doesn't exist, which is a very cool, very interesting lyrical way to put it, because leading somebody to somewhere, right? And you have a common goal, a belief and whatnot, that is a great thing. But if that belief turns out to be not real or true, Belaf here thinks that our leader is capable of convincing the people to find a purpose where they went, and to find their goal wherever they traveled to, in this case into the abyss down there, no matter if this infamous city actually exists or not, which is saying a lot, right? That you have such a strong belief in someone, be like, okay, he's gonna make it happen either way. Even if the city doesn't exist, he's gonna find that purpose for all of us, because the city in a way is a symbol, right? The symbol of hope, the call to adventure, as we had with Rico and whatever, right? With Rico and her mother, the mother is the symbol, right? The thing that kicks it all off. Well, Rec 2 is the thing that kicks it all off, but the thing that kicks it all off, the motivation that's standing at the forefront here, but maybe not all there is to it, and maybe other motivations down the line are getting more and more important, such as her curiosity, such as her weird connection to the abyss, such as Reg, and trying to find out where he came from and why and whatnot. And all of these things take on more and more shape, and that is what he's describing here, that even if the city doesn't exist, he will find a way to lead us on and give us a goal and give us purpose in life. And that is the power of his gift. It's not only being able to foresee the future or have visions, but also to lead the people. And here we do have that lack of self-confidence that I talked about, the self-blamish, guiltish thing, the feeling of worthlessness that our character, that she betrays here, and has internalized, right? This internalized helplessness, this internalized worthlessness. And he is saying something here that, in my opinion, kind of redefines. You see it, she's slightly blushing, but not in a way of like romantic blushing, but more in a way of like, I'm impressed. The words you said to me there, they touched me somewhere deep down. And I think this was the start for her of a new journey, an emotional journey of maybe becoming somebody else, but also staying yourself, right? In a way, transforming into the new you. It was the start of her hero's journey, maybe. And he says that beauty lies not in prestige or appearances or position or whatever. Beauty lies in the eyes and the gaze, if you can still show defiance, affection, longing. These strong emotions, right? The strong, mostly positive emotions. Defiance is also a positive emotion, a positive emotion for you yourself in the face of adversity, right? If you can still have that, then this is the true beauty of this world, and this is how he sees it, and he creates a spark in her, kind of, right? He says, well, not quite a spark, more a darkness, right? Your eyes are dark, they have a darkness in them. Embrace the darkness, right? Search for that darkness, gaze into it, and go along your way, right? And she kind of, that redefines part of, right? It starts a process of redefining your goals and who you are and who you want to be. I think this was a very significant moment for her. He said, when that voice frightens you, I don't know if he meant like that voice of self-doubt or if he was talking about an actual voice. So there's a very interesting thing here that maybe I don't have an idea about yet. But we do find out some cool stuff about her. She's very good at taking care of others, and she has a lot of empathy. I do see parallels here to 𝐏𝐢𝐏, for example. With his, very interestingly enough, her helmet also has that weird thing on the side that kind of reminds me of 𝐿's helmet in the design, so that's cool. Wonder if there's a connection down the line, but yeah. She has a very gift, maybe even for taking care of people, and she wants to do that, and that is a great thing, that out of all this trauma and despite all this trauma and despite all of the bad experiences she made in her past, there came something like it wasn't able to break the core of who she is. Even if it partially defined her, there's still this person in there that has hopes and aspirations, that has empathy and goodness and positive things inside of her. But yeah, I think there's also somebody within the characters. Right here, kind of character, obviously blue hair, reminds me of 𝐸. I do wonder if some of these background characters do become important later, that we find out, right? Because we know 𝐸, for example, crashed years ago with a ship and whatnot, right? So there could be a possible connection, especially since time runs different in the Abyss, but that might be completely like a tinfoil hat theory. Either way, that kind of gave me the idea of, maybe not this person, but maybe some person within those groups of adventurers. But this is the adventure spirit, right? Riding the storm and braving through it, and not everybody's gonna make it, but we take ashore, and he says, who wants to take the first step? And a lot of people raise their hands because they want to be part of this, right? They burn for this, they have this longing, and then the adventure begins. Supplies and climbing and seeing beautiful sight. This is pure nature, right? There's no Orf here, right? Maybe later on the natives founded Orf, or more adventurers came and they founded Orf, but either way, Orf wasn't here yet, but they made their way through this in this unexplored land, in this new world, right? Basically. And with that, we start out a jungle-like environment, natives, right? We do need communication. It's very interesting. Belaf seems to be very skilled in at least reading and languages and whatnot, so he's very quick to figure out what the natives are talking about, at least on a basic level. So very cool. Also very cool to know that it's not just one culture that colonized this island, but that it was different cultures, and whatever happened in between, there's the possibility of people that we meet today being descendant from either the natives or the adventurers that came here over the years, because we also know that not every adventurer was this friendly, as we've like, as I've said before, there was this whole history of the conquistadors and the explorers of the American continent that wreaked havoc, really, partially unintentionally, right, with diseases they brought over, but also partially intentionally with just enslaving and destroying the native population. So there was aggression there, and that's why they're careful at the moment too. But we do come to an agreement. We trade the star compass for the information that we need to go down there, and we do find out that there's a golden city down there, but we can't return. But we're gonna do it anyway, right? We're gonna go down there anyway. We see these beautiful vistas that lure us in, that increase our longing, right? We have been somewhat rewarded already for our journey. We have been through hardship. We have already invested so much time and effort and lost friends, right? Sunk cost fallacy. We can't turn back now, right? We close the door behind us, and in front of us, what awaits us might be glory and greatness and adventure. And I can really feel that, right? Especially these days where everything is more or less explored in the world. You still find that partially, right? When you're going to a different country and you're going on a road trip or whatever. And it's the coolest thing ever, especially if you have people with you that you like and that you enjoy being around with. And that is an amazing thing, just traveling across different continents and meeting different cultures. But the danger of that is less these days in modern times than it is in previous times, where everything was even more unknown. These days we do generally know how a country works and we can inform ourselves before we go to that country, right? But this is pioneer territory. This is maybe how the people felt when they first started to colonize North America, when they started out. And obviously there's a lot of bad business there as well, right, with the natives, but beyond that, just the normal settlers trying to make their way into unexplored territory and frontiers, hard winters, harsh environments, new environments that they had to first understand how they worked. But this awakens something in you, right? This genuine emotional curiosity about how the world works and about living through something maybe partially harsh but also very fulfilling, and this feeling of accomplishing things. And they already have that feeling, right? They had the first taste of that experience of success and wonder by meeting the natives, by actually making it ashore, by braving the mountains and meeting the natives, and now by staring into this shining bright light in the abyss, which is very interesting, by the way, because what I noticed here is maybe that's a stylistic choice, but if it's not a stylistic choice, when we saw Or for the first time, the abyss was a deep and dark cavern, right? There was a lot of darkness, and we know why that is, right? The force field, it brings the light down into the abyss, but it protects looking too far into it. The interesting thing we see here is either that is the Great Fault that we see here, which means this is way earlier, right? And there's different, right, tectonic things going on, and they're at a much lower level than Rico and Reg and the rest of them started out, or it's been actually pretty lit up during that time, which right, gives me the question why and how. Because the force field existed. We see that later when we see like the little montage of the journey. And we do have our little guide here who followed us and seemed to be a little bit attached to our primary character here. We do have that little moment with the tribe exiled her because she's sterile, apparently. First of all, how do they find that out, right? I mean, relics and technology, or is it more of a sinister reason why they would know that? Obviously, it could just be a belief, right? It could just be a weird sign, right, that they got from whatever, right? A lot of ancient cultures and tribes had different methods of trying to identify and foretell things, which are very superstitious and don't turn out to be true in the end. I mean, I remind you that only a couple of centuries ago, people thought it would make sense that the intelligence of a person can be determined by the form of their skulls. And it's not about like the skull being bigger or smaller, it's just the way the skull is formed, which is absolutely insane to me. But yeah, I mean, people have a certain belief and it builds upon itself, and tradition and the knowledge gets passed on and it remains there for quite a while. So I don't know how she got identified. Also, the way she got marked reminds me of some very unsavory things that I don't want to drop here. I don't know why it needs to be the legs. Could be anything else. There's a lot more places where you're more identifiable. So I don't know, but we'll leave that for some other people to analyze if they want to analyze it. And move on for now. We do have our guide and we do experience the curse for the first time. All very interesting. And again, Leader has this personality where he's seeing everything positively, and he kind of doesn't look like a leader, right? With the bags under his eyes and all of that. Maybe that's because he has constant visions or whatever. But he has that positive mental attitude, and he drives people on, and they believe in him. So they travel down, and in the end they arrive at the sixth layer, the Sea of Corpses, which we will in a second talk about a little bit again. And actually I was wrong. Our guide is still alive, so they sacrificed somebody else, or somebody else got sacrificed unbeknownst to them, whatever, right? Either way, somehow they must have gotten down there, because you need to use a white whistle for that. So I do wonder what they have done, or maybe the mechanism only sprung forth at another time. But we did see these weird experiments down there, like in the back. One of those misshapen, no longer human hollows. So yeah, that's how it is. And the moment I really love this transition when they jump in, and our primary character jumps in, and then we see the reflection of Rico coming towards her, and we use that to just transition into our main character's group. By the way, Rex's backpack looks like a lock that needs a key. Very interesting. Either way, 𝐸𝐷 stopped goofing around, and we're inside. Rico touches the life reverberating stone, and it's activating the elevator. And we talk a little bit about 𝐸𝐷, how he can still watch, and which I find very interesting, because now it makes a little bit more sense why he said, hey, your journey becomes my reason and my purpose, because he can just sit up there and do his experiments, and in the meantime just watch what 𝐸𝐷 discovers down there without him having to actually go down there and never come back up, which is a very interesting premise in contrast to all of the other white whistles except for 𝐲𝐴N, who went down there and never came back so far. Yeah, so 𝐸𝐷 is still alive. 𝐸𝐷 has a positive outlook, and Reg is very affectionate and loves her for. I find it that is one of the running gags in the series. It's very adorable, in my opinion, even if 𝐸𝐷 is kind of embarrassed and thinks of it as somewhat of an embarrassing sexual thing. But I mean, to be fair, Reg is a little bit weird with his entire sniffing and whatnot. But we had that with Rico too in episode, I think 5 or 6, where she had Reg's mantle and she was like. I guess this is just the quips and eccentricities of our mangaka showing here. Yeah. The Prush Stone. Oh, that is at the same time adorable, but also fucking sad. I just remember the movie. Yeah, we do pass through the Sea of Corpses, and now we know why it's called Sea of Corpses, and I apologize again for constantly calling it the Sea of the Undead, but it makes sense now, right? People pass down there, and probably a lot of people died in the abyss and fell down there eventually, and the bones are left behind here, and it's almost like you're turning into heaven, like I said during the reaction. The only difference between the abyss and heaven is that heaven is conventionally above us, right, above Earth, and the abyss is down below Earth. And it's not hell, right? We don't see it as hell, it's not portrayed as hell, and it's not visually shown as hell. Maybe the abyss itself, like the layers of the abyss are hell, and then you get into heaven after you passed all of that. But yeah, it's kind of really a lot like heaven. You do have the parallels of faith, right? Heaven is based on faith, God and the angels and whatnot. In Christianity, there's obviously other religions that see things differently, which is all very interesting viewpoints, by the way, though I do like Buddhism the most, probably. We do have the light, right? The light that's shining down, and that's we do see it in a moment, that the entire environment that is lit up down there, it looks like an ethereal place, right? And it's seen as something you can't return from. You can't return from heaven, right? You can't return once you're dead, unless you're Jesus Christ, which, again, Christian mythology, of course. But in a way, right, we do see like the hero's journey, which is kind of the Christ's journey as well. There are some parallels here, especially in the origins of this story, and how people chose to understand it across the centuries, of this person that is the main character being the hero, but also being kind of like a Christ-like figure, of coming back transformed and bringing gifts and boons to whoever is their friends, right? Sharing it with the outside world, which is very similar to how the Jesus Christ story kind of goes, right? To return, right? Sacrifice yourself for the sins of humans, and then come back and bring with you, I don't know what he brought with him, wisdom, I guess, and hope and whatnot. But yeah, we do have that heaven, and this capsule seems to be the only thing that protects you, right? But the faith says, right, the saying is that once you die, your soul goes back to the abyss, and your body does too, but your body has to be left behind, and then you'll enter that last station, the last layer, which is possibly not even the last layer. And our I don't even know how she's called anymore. Something with M, Minyak, I think, or something along those lines. And she's making a dookie, and we do have to make dookies. I mean, it's a bodily function, okay? I mean, they wouldn't have had to draw it out like this, but I'm gonna be honest, this is something that most of the stories actually ignore. Like, right, you're running from one danger to the next and whatnot. When are you gonna do your business? That's a natural thing happening. So yeah, they made a little joke out of it, and I found it very funny that Nanachi was like, Bondred, can you see this? I hope you're seeing this. I'm actually pretty sorry about this. Why are you sorry? Fuck Bondred. Show it to him. He has to watch. And yeah, and there's this light coming. It kind of reminds me of Mushishi, actually. In Mushishi, you do have this stream of life done by the Mushishi. Is it the Mushishi? The Mushi, I think. I don't know exactly, but this stream of life that's created by these creatures that human beings normally can't see, that are kind of like the spirits of the world, the spirits of the country. There's something spiritual, ethereal about it. And there's this giant stream that goes through the entire world or country or whatever, and that's giving life, and that if you stare too long into it, you turn blind or something. I don't remember it quite, but there's a very visually there's a lot of connection there, I see, in terms of how they chose to display that. And we are passing that light barrier that is possibly the force field, and we're going into some kind of sphere that looks like it's broken parts of civilization strewn about in an almost gravity-less environment where the conventional laws of physics don't necessarily apply. And we do have everything displayed in this very bright tone. We have it displayed in such a... There we have the figure, by the way. But yeah, it's shown like heaven, right? It's shown like this amazing landscape that is full of light and reverence and etherealness. And we do see the little windmills here that we also saw upstairs in the when we passed the first layer, I don't know, I don't see any other structures, I think, that are that familiar with me now. That's a great shot, by the way. I'm gonna use that as a thumbnail. But yeah, we do see some of the technology that we saw upstairs, so it's cool to see that possibly a lot of people that lived up there, like Orf exists today, and built technology and built civilizations for decades or centuries. At some point, there were adventurers and explorers that went down there, obviously, probably constantly, but that went down there and went all the way down here to the 6th layer, and built their own structures there, right? So they settled here in a way, at least before they went further down. Again, the only thing I want to talk about, I mean, there's this cool song. We're gonna maybe analyze it in one of the future episodes. The only thing I want to point out, I pointed that out in the reaction already, is that it very well mirrors the Underground River, which was one of our main themes and primary songs in the first season, where we were following that voice down into the depth below, which in my opinion was always like the abyss is calling, but also Liza is calling. And now it talks about how fate will reach its end, and the song ceases, although my passion burns hot enough to tarnish the gold, and I'm getting reshaped, right? Things like that, and it talks about awakening. So there's very interesting things to come, I do. And we still have the theme of hand in hand, or we do have now in the song the theme of hand in hand, which wasn't there before, which is now, in my mind, it represents Rico and Reg and Nanachi too, going down there together and making that journey. And maybe even it represents in a way our new group that we just met that we don't know all the names of yet. And but yeah. Guys, if you did enjoy this reaction and discussion, I would really appreciate it if you would leave a like and tell people who are also interested in reactions about it. If they enjoy it, they can come here and join us. Please join us on the Discord as well. The links are always in the description down below. If the link is not working, because that's possible, I don't want to drop a link on every reaction and then years down the line people can just join and the server is overflowing. But for now, the access is completely free. You can go on the Discord, either the link in the description down below or on my main channel page in my link section right below Patreon. There's actually the Discord link as well. But either way, I would really love for you to subscribe if you don't want to miss any more videos, or if you also want to be informed about other videos I do, like movie reactions and 𝐏𝐢𝐏, which is on the channel already, or my opinion pieces. I also do plan on doing 1 or 2 opinion pieces here and there about certain series that I've watched, maybe also series I've watched on the channel or series I've watched off the channel and just had interesting ideas about or made new connections with, interesting seasonals, whatever. It's all gonna be on here, and even games down the line, because I'm a big gamer, or at least I used to be before I had less time in my life, and I'm trying to get back to that, because I really, from the depth of my heart, I really enjoy games and the way they are as an interactive storytelling medium, and what you can do with it on an artistic perspective as well. But yeah, I would really like for you to subscribe and click that bell so you get notified whenever I upload a new video. And for all of you who are interested in early access, I do have a Patreon. If you just want to support me, that's fine too. It's I think $1.50. It's €1. For $3.50, you do get the early access tier, which is gonna be early access to Made in Abyss at the moment, and early access timer reactions for 𝐏𝐢𝐏, with the edited reactions coming as quickly as possible. But I do the timer reactions first as a backup, because I had a little bit of trouble with 𝐏𝐢𝐏 with copyright and whatnot, constantly, like every 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm also doing it because I want to get the reaction to you as soon as possible, so all you people on Patreon who have the early access tier can watch it as soon as I react it and have it processed, which is most of the time 1 or 2 days after the episode came out. And then a couple of days later, there's going to be the public release of 𝐏𝐢𝐏, of course, because I don't want to be more than 1 week late with that. I want to provide it before the next episode comes out. Yeah, that's about it. I also have a $5 tier and a $10 tier. They're sporadic at the moment. There's gonna be polls for the next series after Made in Abyss, so if you want to vote on that, go for the $5 tier. I'm gonna put all of the suggestions in there, and you can vote on it, and after all is voted on, I'm probably gonna pick out 3 or 4 that I'm gonna put into the public polls, into the $1, $1.50 polls, for all the people who would like to actually decide what's ultimately gonna be the thing that's gonna replace Made in Abyss. That's the idea I have so far. If you have any feedback on that, feel free to tell me. Of course, that's cool. It's gonna be that way for now, but maybe down the line I'm gonna change it. And then we do have, of course, the $10 tier, which is once a month. You can suggest something to me, right? Only 1 person at the moment. I'm limiting to 1 person because I do not want to get 20 requests and then people are like, why are you not doing my request? I do it once a month. Somebody can suggest to me a series that they want to have, and I'll put it on the list and watch it as soon as I can, watch the first episode of it, and if I like it, it's gonna go into the future polls. Or if I like it a lot, right, from the first episode on, I might actually just put it in whenever a slot is free, right? Either way, the $10 tier is just for people who are really like, I really love what you're doing and I want to support you, and I do have the money, right? So don't worry about that. It's just there if you want the option. Yeah, that's Made in Abyss, Season 2, Episode 1. I do hope you enjoyed the reaction. I definitely enjoyed going into this, and it was a great start into the next season, a great setup to see where we're going, and I hope you do have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Yeah. See you then.